Hi, this is Ken from One More Rep Fitness, and today we're going to be talking about wrist wraps. So we're going to be discussing basically the what, why, when, and how. So let's get started. First, the what of a wrist wrap. So a wrist wrap, if you can see here, are made of something that is durable, and most of the time something like this is an elastic material that has a closure system. In our case, we use a Velcro closure system. So when it comes to wrist wraps, it does come in different sizes. I've seen it as short as 12 inches all the way to about a meter. So that's roughly around 40 inches. So One More Rep carries two sizes, the 24-inch and the longer 30 inches. The 24 for me is the perfect balance of support and comfort. Now, why do you want to be using a wrist wrap? Why do you want to use a wrist wrap? For one, it's to prevent any injury. So if you look at your wrist, the joint in your wrist is one of the smallest joints in our whole body. And these are the one that is going to be carrying a lot of weight when we do some workout. So imagine if you're doing pressing 100 kilos, 100 kilos of that weight is all dependent also on that small joint. So what we do is we use a wrap to make sure that that joint is stable and immobile to prevent any injury. On the other hand, it also helps to create or to add performance. How does it add performance? So when you're doing a press exercise, so something like this. So when you're doing like an overhead or a bench press, your power is transferred directly straight up. But if this thing goes bent because your wrist is not immobile, you are losing power there. So using a nice wrist wrap is going to prevent that from happening. Now, when do you usually use it? So, like I've already mentioned, this is great for anything that involves the wrist. So most of the time it's a push exercise, overhead press, a bench press. Now, even when we squat, we actually like to use a nice wrist wrap because when you put the weight on and you're lifting it, you're holding on to the bar, any slight slippage can cause you to fail in your squat. So having to make sure that that wrist is immobile and carrying that load more stable is going to help us overall on the squat. I've also seen people use this for the deadlift because I've talked to a lot of people who use this for deadlift, and they swear by using a wrist wrap because it increases their grip power. So if you look at it this way, so when you just bend your wrist or your finger slightly, and then you use your arm to just press on your wrist, notice how it tries to close. This is the same way when you use the wraps. The pressure that it creates on your wrist means you'll have a tighter grip. So when you have a tighter grip, of course, it's going to be better when you deadlift because you can lift it without letting go of the bar. Is that feeling when your grip is stronger, the weight actually feels lighter. A lot of people really like using the wraps, not just for push exercises, but also for the deadlift. So this will probably also include rows. If you want to make sure that you want to have the best grip, you can also use it for your rows. Now, how do you actually use the wraps? So you can either use this for your left or your right wrist. So look, so if I'm going to hold it here and I'm wrapping going out, then this wrap can be used on my left hand. But what if I want to use it on the right hand? Now, there's other people, so if you notice, they like to wrap it going inwards rather than outwards. So something like this, I just move the same one Now this is now the same one, but I'm now using it for my right hand. But rather than wrapping it outward, this one I'm wrapping inward. So if you notice now, with the same one, I can use this either for my left or for right. So how do you wrap it properly? Now, we do have a thumb loop on all our wrist wraps, but in my case, I don't usually use it because I'd prefer to just grab on. So if you notice, I'll just grab on to the thumb loop using the space between my thumb and my forefinger, and I'll just pull it, and then I wrap. The first wrap is I pull around 60%. Then the next one, I pull around 80%. And then on my last wrap, I pull as tight as I can. And then secure it with the Velcro. Now, if you notice, look at my hand. The circulation is being cut off. It's now getting paler. This is how you want it to be secured. You want it to be tight. Because when it's not tight, then it defeats the purpose of keeping your wrist immobile. So you want it as tight as possible so that when you use it, it guarantees maximum support. So if you're wrapping your wraps and you can work out and use it for your whole workout without removing it, that means the wrap is not tight enough. It has to be to a point that it feels almost uncomfortable, that after the lift, you want to be removing it immediately after. But that way, it guarantees you that your wrist is well supported. So once again, when you wrap it, so I grab onto the thumb. You know why I don't like to use the thumb loop? Because as a power lifter, when we compete, you are not allowed to have your thumb inside the thumb loop. And if you do so, and you enter the platform during competition and they see you with your thumb inside the thumb loop, they actually have to have you leave the platform just to remove it. So in this case, to make sure that I don't have that issue, I go ahead and just grab onto it, wrap around 60% on the first loop. I grab onto it here. I pull again now around 80%. And then now as I pull as hard as I can, then I wrap it. Now if you notice also, it goes up just a little bit past the joint. This way, it makes sure that the wrist is not going to be able to move. Now if I wrap it too low, like being here, below the joint, see? It's useless. So you want to make sure that the point of this is to prevent this wrist from moving this much. So once again, slightly higher than the joint here, then I wrap it. So now when you wrap it really tight, see, it barely moves as compared to a while ago. So this one, whether you're using the 30-inch or the 24-inch, you wrap it the same way. A 30-inch, why people still opt for the 30-inch is, for one, you have people with really big, huge wrists. So they need a larger one to make sure it protects them more because of how much loop that they can do, that the shorter one will not be able to wrap it 3 times around the wrist. Second, with a lot of competitors who are moving really, really heavy weight, the more loops that they can do around the wrist, the firmer the support is going to be. So I hope I've given you enough information on wrist wraps. So it answers your what, your why, your when, and how. So if you're ready to order, please message us. I'll put our links below. You can order to our Facebook or you can order to our Instagram. Thanks. Bye.